Welcome back to the Said G Podcast Show. I would like to invite everyone to join me on Wix.com where I make weekly blogs about what's happening in the stock market and in the market in general. Had a great time with my Zoom class. We got another one coming up soon, so guys, be looking for that. Where we'll be discussing retirement and investments. Psychological warfare. It is interesting when I look and see why they use these tactics, where does it come from, and it's even more interesting that it's associated with warfare. And I don't think a lot of people really realize what it's actually associated with, because it's so many people that will actually speak on it, especially in the social conscious community. They definitely will say things like psychological warfare, but I don't think that many of them may not mention that it's associated with warfare. Now, how does it affect my community in particular? You know, when I like to educate my community, even though I know my audience is basically outside of the urban area, people from around the world, they be emailing me, asking me about the African American plight, and I get a lot of compliments about the show. But a lot of my audience are in suburban areas. These people, they own businesses, and I appreciate them listening to it. You know, I'm very humble when it comes to that. But I did an episode called Blaxploitation. One of the things that they use, when you look at film back in the day, you wouldn't see a leading black person in a major film. They were generally played as butlers or maids or someone that's very uneducated with a low-class job. Though there were movies with African Americans with prominent roles, but this is more or less in the black community. It wasn't mainstream, so you didn't have very many mainstream movies with a strong looking character representing African Americans. So that's one way that kills your spirit. That makes you in some ways have low self-esteem when it comes to American standards. They were always projected as the criminal. I was looking at the TV show The Little Rascals, and I really love The Little Rascals. I really love Stymie on there, Buckwheat. You know, I like the show. You know, I think that it was one of the funniest shows that was ever made. You know, they did a really good job working with those children and made it entertaining. But some of the stuff the character Stymie may say, he was saying that his father went to jail. I can't wait till my dad get out of jail. My dad was shooting craps, you know, even though they had good speaking roles in those that television series, The Little Rascals or Our Gang. And so I'm not gonna knock him that much, but some of that dialogue he was saying, that wasn't a good thing to say. You know, it's something else that can kill your spirit, you know. And even when you look at my generation and the generation that preceded me, they often made the civil rights people look dumb or look like a pushover. They were very uneducated and unorganized. Those were the images that were projected to me coming up. Even in school, you know, they show us bad images of Africa. They wouldn't show us the beauty of Africa, and they totally separated Egypt from Africa. So we're not learning things about Mansa Musa or things like that, you know. They generally would show us the bush people in Africa, or they may show these poor images of people from down south. So in a sense, they made us really hate each other. you know. And the news, the media, you know, they generally project all the crimes with black people in the media, like all day long. As soon as you turn on the TV, it's about black killing black, or this black person created this crime. And back in the day, they used to go find like the worst person in the neighborhood to put on the news and speak on a story or something, you know. The images are consistently bad, you know. And that's just some of the ways that psychological warfare has been used against my communities for a couple centuries now, you know. So it all started in slavery, making all of us go against each other. You know, that was just a form of psychological warfare. But it even goes even outside of that, because the American people is under psychological warfare, because even though the image of African Americans is we are not together, but the images of other people is not together too. So, and like I did an episode on called Liberals versus Conservatives. You know, these people are starkly different because they had different beliefs. That's a fact, you know. And a lot of this stuff can be smoothed over if the government was taking more of an active role via the media. Even when you look at Hitler, because I talked to German people, and I asked them about the influence of Hitler over there, and it's very minimum over there. Like, people will look down on you if you even try to follow Hitler. But you got people over here that's these rebel, right-wing type people. They idolize people like Hitler. So yeah, it's a case of making all the general public go against each other. That way we won't too much focus on the leadership. You know, you keep confusion among the people, you know, and they use these psychological warfare. They use media tactics. Donald Trump even used media tactics, you know. So the liberals and the conservative people, they had two different views, contrastingly different views. And, you know, a civil war can break out with these people at any given time, you know. So, but the way they do it, you know, again, it's through news leafs, newspapers. It's a bad thing to have the media against you, because they can really go in on you. You know, the media can dig all into your background, and you know, they can find out so much information about you, you know. So, and they used it during the civil rights movement. They used it against Martin Luther King. They used it against Malcolm X. They used it against our great leaders. But it's used against other people too. So, you know, maybe a big portion of that happened with Donald Trump. I truly believe that. That's just the games they play over there. That's why I don't believe that he's going to get impeached. But the whole name of the game is keep all of us fighting each other. Yeah, have us going against Native Americans or Asian peoples or Arabs and Chaldeans, and, you know, that's the name of the game. That's psychological warfare. You know, in the United States, you may not see the CIA active in the United States, causing all this disruption, but they definitely were using it in other countries. That's a fact. So, psychological warfare, how can we break that? I don't think we can ever break that. It's never going to be broken. It's never going to be broken. You know, so even with this pandemic, you know, they use that to certain levels of panic among people. You know, people had people panicking, you know. Psychological warfare, even though it's a real thing, but I don't think they should panic the public like that. You know, there's many levels to this, and it's definitely associated with war. Don't forget that. It's the Said G Podcast Show. Tell a friend, share this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, family. One love.